Good morning, everyone.
Good morning!
I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for coming out on a cold, foggy San Francisco day. And thanks to everyone on ACIM Gather. Welcome. And those on YouTube land that are going to join us in a little bit. Is Lynn Johnson on today?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, Lynn, how are you? Good to
Reverend Peter Hart.
Ah, that's very sweet. Well, you can't see me, but today I am wearing remnants of my costume from the ACM conference when I took on the role of Centurion Petronius, but I am actually really Reverend Peter. Is Reverend Dusicus here? Is Reverend Dusicus, can you come up and join me just for a minute? This was my partner in crime. We were attempting to crucify Reverend Tony. Hey! But we should say, look, check out the video on YouTube, is it?
YouTube,
of the conference, yes. Right? Reverend Dusicus was wonderful. Okay. So kind of an interesting side fact, real quick, I just want to mention this. So Reverend Tony and I, after the skit, were talking about it a little bit, and I said, Petronius, that name does sound familiar, and I looked it up, and apparently they say in the Gospel of Peter, which I don't even know where Peter didn't have an official gospel, but it says in that particular gospel that Centurion Petronius was the Roman guarding Christ's tomb when the light appeared and like the boulder moved and he got freaked out. Apparently some people say they were drinking and they fell asleep, but anyway, that's where Petronius. So somewhere in my unconscious I must have conjured that. So he does have a connection to the story somewhat. Anyhow, so today I wanted to talk about, the title of my talk is Secret Oaths and the Freedom from Fear. And the first thing that I really wanted to kind of talk about is, if you look at our world that we appear to be in, that we manifested, there are a lot of secrets going on, aren't there? And they go on in multi-levels, even perhaps multi-dimensional levels. So the first thing that I thought about was a few years back, going in on the internet, I kept seeing this term Illuminati, and I thought, what is it, but it just kept showing up. So I researched it, right? And so the Illuminati is this belief that there really is this secret society that exists across the elites in the world, and they are in positions of power, and they make financial policy and they make political policy, and they're dark forces. They're influenced by either dark spirit beings or perhaps even aliens and so on and so forth. But it's a secret, and if you get too close to the secret, they come after you and do bad things to you. Okay? So, but people are fascinated by this. They say there's these families that exist and that have all the money and power, blah, blah, blah. Now, it may be true, it probably is true, I don't know. But it's a secret, okay? And, the other thing I think about, too, is in my own experience as a Catholic boy growing up, we were told a lot of things about beliefs about Christianity and Jesus and so on and so forth. And it turns out that a lot of the stuff that we were told as kids is really being challenged now. For one, I'm a gay man, and in fact, in the early Christian church, gay marriages were okay. They didn't have problems with gay marriages. It wasn't until a few centuries later when some popes or some leaders decided that it was wrong, that it was bad. Okay, so that was kept a secret, though. We were just told that being gay is bad, is wrong. Being homosexual is wrong, right? So the history was kind of suppressed and repressed and so on and so forth. So, there we have another secret even in our spiritual or our religious institutions. Think about our families, right? The 12-step programs have this expression, you're as sick as your secrets. And a big part of the process of healing in 12-step process is coming to terms with those things that you've kept in mind. Maybe it was something that happened to you. Maybe it was a problem that someone in your family had. maybe someone in your family had a mental health issue and everybody was in denial about it. Whatever it was, right? You kind of had these different things. Now, for me personally, I think the biggest secret that I ever had is related to my sexuality. You know, when I was a young man growing up in Maple Shade, New Jersey, you know, around the age of 9 or 10, I started realizing I had these feelings, you know, for same-sex attraction, you know, and at that time my parents had a medical dictionary, a medical encyclopedia, I should say, so I looked up homosexuality, and it said that, you know, these are generally passing phases that boys have, and if the feelings persist, you know, take your child to a therapist. And so I was like, oh, this isn't good. And I closed that, and I knew I wasn't going to tell anybody about this. I was like, ooh, this doesn't sound like a good thing I want to share right now. So anyway, I went through all throughout my teen years and through college, fighting and resisting this secret that I had, and suffered a lot because of it. You know, I suffered a great deal. And, you know, like today's lesson says, the secret of salvation is that I'm doing this unto myself, you know, and that it's like, oh, I thought my only option was to keep it a secret. But then I, you know, went to therapy and I started going out and meeting people and coming out to people. And in that process of releasing the secret, did I heal? So, you know, we have these, and I'm sure we all have as we grow, and we all have these kind of experiences. But my question, when I read this section of the of A Course in Miracles, was even a little bit deeper than that, than necessarily the secrets that we see. My thought was, well, you know, why? Where did this idea of secrecy come from? Why did we manifest secrecy as part of human conditions and relations, right? Why did this come? And the reading that Reverend Tony gave so powerfully today says this. I'd like to read this quote. The body represents the gap between the little bit of the mind you call your own and all the rest of what is really yours. This is the secret vow that you have made with every brother who would walk apart. Remember that, walk apart. This is the secret oath you take again whenever you perceive yourself attacked. No one can suffer it if he does not see himself attacked and losing by the attack. So that's the quote. And so if you take a look at that, again, you know, the Course in Miracles, you have to read into it a little bit. But if we explore, take other chapters and other interpretations of the Course, what the secret oath we all made was that we're going to kind of escape into this world and we're going to attack one another. And we're like, well, why? Why would we could have made a world where we just loved one another, right? But it's because of that walk apart. It's that idea that we separated. Now, folks, know what I said? I said it's an idea. I didn't say it's a reality. It's an ego idea that we're separate. It's an ego idea that we're separate. And the ego, you know, as the ego does, the ego is also kind of a maladapted part of the mind that we are undoing, whispers to us and says it's their fault. They're the reason for the problem, right? It's this deep, 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 deep guilt that's deeply unconscious. And what happens is, the ego said, when you created yourself, you believe that you create yourself against God's will. And that God, or source, whatever you want to call, whatever name you're comfortable for, is going to come and get you and obliterate you. That's how deep this fear is. And that is why, in our personal lives, and in our political life, and our economic life, let's think about it. Anywhere we are, what is often going on with human condition? right? Go to a meeting at work or for an organization that you're part of, right? And oftentimes just sit and observe, okay, and see the vibe, right? And sometimes when there's problems, people are oh, well, it's because of this system, it's because of that system, oh, it's because of them, it's because of this person, right? All because, we have this deep belief, really, that we have, that we have to not be found out. The belief is if we do something wrong, that we are going to be, God's going to get us. We're going to have some kind of consequence to our experience. So, we're Course in Miracles students, so we know that even though this could be our experience, the truth of the matter is that the miracle's waiting there, waiting for it to happen, right? And we even had this experience. It was at the conference, that we just put on. That's what the whole conference was about, right? Love makes no exceptions, and it's the antidote to that. It's really, really important to understand that. So when we are healing, one of the things we have to do is have awareness. In other words, we would keep doing this attack cycle, seeing our brother and sister as wrong, until we're aware of it, until we're actually aware of what's going on, right? And so the one thing about the Course in Miracles does is it exposes this dynamic that goes on. It exposes the secrets, okay? And look at look what's happening in the world today. Look at the Me Too movement, right? Women are coming forward and saying, hey, you know what? It's not cool in the workplace for powerful people to be abusing us, right? It's not cool for men or women to have this experience. So, and where is that coming from? Because people are responding differently. I'm not saying it's a perfect process, but that's what's happening. Look what's happening with, give an example, WikiLeaks. Okay, now it's controversial, but the whole idea is that, they just exposed a year ago, they just exposed all these wealthy people who take all their money, and in the Cayman Islands or in Panama, they set up these shell games, and they're all across the world, these folks are doing things which are pretty, which if it was under any nation of the world would be illegal, would be corrupt. And they're doing these things. But now it's starting to come to light, right? It's starting to come to light. And it's the same thing with us. I had this other experience recently, actually this weekend. I also serve as the coach of a softball team in the Gay Softball League. And my big thing this year has been commitment. It's the second year I'm coaching the team, second year that we reformulated the team and brought some new folks in. And the first year, I felt like we really struggled with commitment, guys not getting to practice. I'm big on practice, I'm a coach, and I really think practice is important, okay? So, and we really talked about it in the off season and so on and so forth. And so this week, there's 15 guys on the roster, 8 signed up to show up. Now, this is volunteer, right? It's for fun. And we say, of course, if you have to work, or if you're sick, or you have something really important, it's a higher priority, just let us know. Well, some guys didn't let me know, and or they gave me a reason. They said they were sick. So this time, I called them. I personally called them. And I said, hey, look. I said, you know what? I just have this concern. I have this feeling that, maybe you're not really being honest with me. Are you really sick? You're really sick. And we had this conversation, and in this case, the guy said, yeah, look, the truth of the matter is I'm sick. And this is also someone who last year didn't show up to some of the practices, right? So I had and we talked about it, and we had, it was really a healing, because I really felt like I just wasn't getting the BS story. But I had this intuition that something was going on. Now, you might say that, you could look at it and say, oh, I should have trusted my brother and so on and so forth. I don't have any judgment. I love the guy, I don't have any judgment about him. But there was this feeling I had that I needed to really check this out with him. And there was another guy on my team who basically told me the night before, oh, I messed up my schedule, I got it misunderstood, and made some other remarks that I needed to check out. So I called him the next day as well. But this was my second conversation with him. And after the conversation, I felt better. I had some concerns about the reason he gave me. We talked about it. I felt better about it because he said, yeah, this is exactly, I had this social appointment, I made this engagement, blah, blah, blah. And I said to him, frankly, I said, well, I get it, you made a choice. I'm disappointed that, the choice is going to impact the team because we had made this commitment, but I appreciate the honesty and, we'll kind of go forward. And he committed to being more careful about how he schedules and so on and so forth, okay? And look, I get it, it's softball, it's about having fun and I mean, everything, the more you study the Course in Miracles, the more we need to laugh. Okay, the more we need to laugh at these things and so on and so forth. And at the same time that we need to laugh, we also, there's the responsibility prayer. We still have the responsibility to follow our guidance. And what I learned from these experiences is that, even if you have this guidance to do it. And even if you have some feelings like, oh, well, this could really go bad. Like those phone calls could have went really bad. They could have quit the team. They could accuse me of things and so on and so forth. Even if you have those concerns, that's part of the healing process. And in fact, they may happen. They may happen. But if you hang in there and if you show up and if you voice your concerns, that's the secret. Like that was, like if I held those feelings in, I wouldn't want to coach. If I didn't present this with my team. So we're going to be a better team if I hold myself and everyone else accountable. That's really my job, right, on the team. I mean, I want everyone to have fun. We want to win. But my job is to make everyone accountable to their things too, right? There's lots of things. I mean, that's kind of how it goes. But that's the miracle of it for me. Like in my life, I know one of the things that I do is I want to avoid conflict. I know there are some people that are very direct and are very confrontational. I grew up with some of those folks, and that's an okay style, okay? But my style is a little bit different, and I've learned that there's a way to have these kind of hard conversations with people. But when we come to them praying, I pray first. When we come to those kinds of situations with prayer, with awareness, with asking Spirit for guidance, and then turning it over, and letting the process unfold, a lot of times that's what happens. Reverend Tony, and this past, these conferences that we had, let's look back and see what happened. Like, I know not everyone's privy to what these past conferences, but the conference in New York, there was controversial statements made. In Las Vegas, Reverend Tony couldn't keep his clothes on. Right? He got all kinds of shit, right? From everybody for what he said, blah, blah. And then, but that said, the Holy Spirit had it all going, right? The Holy Spirit had, people getting inspired with ideas and Reverend Tony getting inspired, following his guidance. And the conference itself ended up with this amazing healing between the two, I guess, I don't know, what should we call them? Let's think of Star Wars. The Empire, well, I see the Empire as kind of the FI, like the Foundation for Inner Peace, not in that, just, because they're the big guys, right? And they have the idea of how things should be. And then we're kind of like the rebels, in Star Wars, the Republic, I don't know, we're doing this and whatever. But there was this great healing, that took place, and The FIP reps were there. Gary Renard showed up. He had some, like he said, he had some conflicts with Tony in terms of the things he said, but he always felt that Tony was a brother, and that's the healing, is that even amidst the conflict, that's what the Course is telling us today. It says we walk apart, okay? So we can have conflict with our fellow beings, we can have conflict with our leaders, we can have conflict with everybody, you know what I'm saying? We can have the honesty of the conflict, but are we perceiving from the ego's eyes, or are we perceiving from Spirit's eyes? Because Spirit already holds them in love. Spirit already holds them in innocence. That's how Spirit sees things. And that's what the Course is trying to get us to the point of. Now I imagine, that as time goes on, that more and more the miracles happen, as our minds heals, more and more the miracles happen faster and faster and faster and so on. And we continue to see this. But while we're still on this kind of happy journey to our oneness, we might as well, let go of these secret oaths, let go of these secrets that we're manifesting and that we're holding, and turn the process over to Spirit. Allow ourselves to be free of the guilt and fear that we believe is in our separated mind, and choose once again for our peace and our oneness. And don't forget to laugh. That's my talk for today.
Nice.